Cruise Control.
And welcome back to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. Hello, everyone. I'm Fred Staab. He is Les Jackson. And we are joined by Bob Broderdorf, who is the head of the Dodge brand in North America. And we're going to talk about something that looks like this. And it is RoadKill Nights making a return back to Pontiac, Michigan. Bob, this has got to be a great place to showcase Dodges.
Yeah, there's no question. RoadKill really started as a concept with the idea of how do we showcase the Dodge lineup in the wild at a proper venue to really let people see what these cars were capable of. Almost 7 years ago when it first started, really at a very small event just at the Pontiac Silverdome. And it's really turned into an absolute monster, and we're happy to have it back this year.
Is the idea to sort of bring drag racing back to the days when you drove your car there and you thought you were the fastest guy in your neighborhood, but you wanted to take on other people. You weren't a professional racer. You just were a car guy.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, I think this the event was designed by car people. We picked obviously one of the most iconic streets on the planet 1 week before one of the biggest car shows on the planet, the Woodward Dream Cruise. So from an iconic standpoint, this is all about taking the car, the weekend warrior, letting the old school mentality of bringing out really some incredible products and seeing what these things are capable of doing against one another in really the most purest, raw fashion street racing humanly possible.
Yeah, like we were having fun with before, Bob. Side-by-side action. Be there. Sunday, right. Sunday. Yeah, it's all good. Well, for people who are not familiar with the event, tell us a little bit about, besides drag racing, what else they might encounter.
We really packed this thing. So it's featured at the M1 Concourse, where we really take the entire property and we turn this thing into a complete playground for automotive enthusiasts. And what you'll find there is everything from your vintage car show display all the way to thrill rides with Hellcats, with professional drivers. We've got a whole series of stunts and shows that are available, from flamethrowers to wheel standers. We've got, obviously, we're going to have celebrity races that'll be there, which is going to be the big announcement for the year, all the way down to our traditional 120 weekend warriors that can register and race one another for prize money. So the action there is pretty much nonstop.
Now he almost went back into that drag racing commercial.
Almost.
Action, nonstop. Be there. Well, for people that don't know what RoadKill is, I love the show because they basically take cars that are just, they dig out of a field somewhere and they do something crazy with it. Put a giant 440 in it. Put a Hellcat engine in it or whatever. Sometimes it's held together with zip ties. I believe that's another one of their events. But the appeal of it, Bob, is like anyone can get back in and have fun even if they don't have a huge budget.
There's no question. That's why we love those guys. I think just their platform, who they attract, their entire presence on how they approach really cars. For us is a ton of fun. There's a lot of similarities with the Dodge brand of how we approach it and really try to make products for our audience. But those guys are phenomenal. They're incredible partners. And I think this thing's turned into something special. So, yeah, those guys are a blast to work with.
Yeah, one of the fun cars they had, Les, was they were given I believe it was a Hellcat Charger in great shape from Dodge to use for their show. And they made it look with a wrap like their other beat up cars, all rusty and mismatched panels. I guess you were okay with that, Bob.
Look, there's something raw and pure about going back to the origin of it all, right? I mean, we know what the everyday Charger and Challenger looks like. We make some great stuff, but seeing what those guys do and how they put that wrap on, I think was a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Do you got to have grudge matches in this, like the old days where they're, it's usually a good sport or good fun, but you got a couple guys that are sort of the top dogs, and then you stage a grudge match at some of these. Are you doing that?
Yeah, this year that's actually going to be, I think, one of the new main attractions. Anytime we do Roadkill, we are looking to try to make it bigger and better. And even if you've been 5 times, I want something new that you guys can see and get excited about. And this year, our partnership with Motor Trend, we've got Eric Malone is going to come to the event. And he's going to feature, he's from the fastest cars in the Dirty South.
Yep.
He's got his show. He's going to do a full episode on there. And we're going to allow him to compete against 4 of the top influencers that are going to be in the same vein of putting their car together with a Charger and Challenger that we're going to provide them. And we're going to have a true Hellcat grudge match that are really going to amplify this thing and the pinnacle of the event. So I think we've got an outstanding event showcase. And there are going to be some amazing personalities. They're going to be there on race day. Yeah,
he's got a great show. I like that. Some of those cars are pretty intense stuff. And it's a whole culture of, that's it. Like, I'm going to run you for money and I'm going to build my car up. And it's an interesting look into other people's worlds. And of course, some great eye candy with drag racing there. What else? People will be able to, Bob, experience the Dodge products. That's key. And you talked about hot shoe rides. What's that going to be like? Are you going to take them down the drag strip?
Yeah,
or
we
road
got 2
course?
tracks. So we got 2 separate road courses on the M1 property, and we've got our professional drivers out there, and our fans can get in line and experience a thrill ride from a nearly 800 horsepower car from a professional driver, which is an entirely different experience itself. Watching these guys drift through cones, absolutely just rip up a road course. And then when you're done, you can stop and watch them drag racing on Woodward, along with the other host of properties. But our pro drivers get after it, and they really give the fans something to remember.
Does any actual traffic ever drive on Woodward? It just seems like
It's just
Woodward
hot rodders.
is always the scene of events, and it's am I right? It's the oldest highway built in America.
Yeah. The Woodward's very iconic, and if for somebody who grew up here in Detroit, obviously, that's like the Mecca, right? That's one of the most iconic areas for the Dream Cruise. And if you've never been, the only way I can describe it is some of the most exciting, interesting cars that the eye has ever seen for as far as the eye can see, with literally hundreds of thousands of people, all there, passionate, rabid fans, all just having an amazing time, checking out the cruise. And, obviously this Roadkill, the Dodge event really, I think, kicks the whole week off. People are already out there right now on the weekend showing off cars. Cars and coffee on Woodward is not unusual, especially this time of year.
We should say they're already there, but the event happens on August 14th, right?
Well, I think they're having their own events.
No, they are having their own events, but it's just one of those passion points and places where I think automotive enthusiasts go. Woodward's definitely a location to find that type of activity.
Well, Bob, since you grew up in the area, what are some of your memories of running?
My whether it was Woodward or Gratiot, when my parents were growing up, and just their series of muscle cars, and for me, I think it's that late 60s, 70s era where some of the most iconic cars of muscle car lore. We all grew up looking at those cars. They're still talked about to this day. I think just cruising in those areas, or even my grandfather or my parents having them, and how our parents talked about it. My parents met in high school, and they're still together to this day, and they talked about cruising on Gratiot,
Wow.
or cruising down Woodward. That's just kind of a staple for the Detroit American car culture. Like, that's just a common story. And I know that might have been for me, and I happen to be in this industry, but that's normal for a lot of people around here that grew up in that era.
Wow.
When did people start cruising? I associate it with the 60s.
I would say 50s, though.
But did it, were people in the 30s cruising?
Honestly, I really don't know, but I think for as far as any really you can go back, even the original Dodge brothers showing off cars, trying to up Ford way back in the day. That's over 100 years ago. People were showing off cars in Detroit. So I don't know. They've probably been cruising since the 30s for sure. And definitely from at least my more modern memory from the things I grew up on, definitely 50s and 60s. But that's iconic for this city.
Yeah, I also think it started big time. Hot rodding started after World War II, where guys came back. They were used to fabricating stuff, making stuff up in the field. they were restless. They wanted a thrill. You know, it was hard to get back into normal life. So they're like, hey, let's go run these cars out on the dry lakes or cruise up the Boulevard. And you know, and they were very good at mechanical things for making things happen. And where'd they learn about supercharging? You know, where'd they learn about free-flowing exhaust? Well, it was airplanes and engines and stuff like that they were involved with. So we are talking with Bob Broderdorf. Bob, we got a break coming up. Stay with us. He's going to tell us more about RoadKill Nights coming up on August 14th. It sounds like an incredible event. We'll hear more about it when we come back on Cruise Control. I'm Fred Staab. He is Les Jackson. We will be right back.
Cruise Control.
And welcome back to Cruise Control. I'm Fred Staab. He is Les Jackson. We have Bob Broderdorf, who is head of the North American brand Dodge, with us. And we are just loving this discussion about RoadKill Nights. That's coming up August 14th. And Bob, I know you're gonna have. We were talking a little bit about the track, which is basically a street. You do a little bit of prep on the starting line, a little bit of traction compound, right?
Yep, yeah. We the Woodward street that we race on, it's pretty much we've got about an 1/8 mile track, and we definitely prep up the beginning to make sure that the racers get off to a phenomenal start. But the street itself, I mean, this is a public street with street legal drag racing, and we obviously prep the course in the beginning, make sure we take care of it after the fact. City of Pontiac's phenomenal to let us to do something like this, but the stuff that the racers are on, I mean, this is an absolute normal street public road that people can go on with cracks and bumps and crowns, and it definitely makes for a different approach to racing, very much like many of us would experience in the real world, sort of stoplight to stoplight.
Yeah.
So you need a fair amount of run out space at the end of the track, because they got to, their brakes and tires have to work on a real street.
Yeah, you'll see cars there with parachutes. You find that they don't necessarily use them because obviously the key on Woodward is the initial traction. You got to kind of get that good rolling start before you kind of let it rip in that nice peak. But we've got plenty of runway past it. Like I said, the city was phenomenal to give us a lot of space and really make the venue work for all of these weekend work.
Where's the crowd? Where are the spectators? They don't have bleachers, do they?
Yeah, we set it up. Set it up for bleachers all down the side. I mean, the circus that is RoadKill is impressive. Whether it's TVs or live streams or just the camera crews that are running around to feature the action. There are bleachers, stands for people to be all up along the road, past the barriers. You get a real close, hands-on look of these cars running. Oh. It's a pretty impressive setup.
Now, can you share with us some of the celebrities that are going to be making runs down there? I mean, I assume Freiberger and Finnegan and all the other folks from RoadKill will be there, but who are some of the other people? We got the normal
crew from RoadKill. Eric Malone will be there. Mm-hmm. We've got a couple of other guests that we're expecting that we haven't announced quite yet, but the initial announcement was very much about Eric Malone and the TV show and the fact that there will be 3 different TV shows filmed there that day.
Wow.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. And I think with the influencers, you'll see a further extension of the contestants that we're going to have. They're going to be able to document the entire build up to RoadKill and just all that's going to go into these products that we're going to give them for this Hellcat grudge match.
Now, when you say influencers, that's not somebody just pitching jewelry or something like that. These are actual car people building cars, right?
Yeah, we are in the process of finalizing the background checks, but we've worked with Eric and the Motor Trend team to find 4 legitimate car builders who are capable of racing at RoadKill and taking a Hellcat that we're going to give them, plus that 10 grand, and let them make modifications in the purest form. And the amazing part about it, there are no rules. You got to use the Charger or Challenger that we provide. You got to use the block. Got to use the blower. Otherwise, all bets are off. You do what you got to do, and let's see, and fastest car wins. So it should be a really fun race and some amazing content that everybody's going to get to enjoy and see.
Well, what would you do? if you were going to drag race a Hellcat, all I do is change out the tires for some kind of drag radials in the back. Because what else do you need to do? It's got plenty of horsepower already.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, when you're throwing around 800 horsepower off of a stock car, obviously traction is going to be key. But given the backgrounds of the contestants that we've chosen, along with Eric Malone, I mean, we had a conversation yesterday, and he's like, I'm absolutely breaking 1,000 horsepower, there's no question. And you can expect some pretty interesting tactics that he's going to put into the car. So our influencers better be ready because he's serious.
Yeah, he builds a lot of power. He certainly does.
If you drill enough holes in all the interior panels, you can really lighten a car.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
Lightweighting, traction, and just old school raw per horsepower, I think are going to be crucial to this one.
Yeah, air and fuel and more of it, as much as you can jam in there. Yeah. What is it, Bob? It's always been true with Dodge owners and Mopar owners. They like to use their vehicles. They're not like, oh, I'll just park them in a field and sit next to them in a lawn chair. They're always out doing burnout contests or racing or whatever. What is it about the brand that makes people want to really use their cars?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. I think first, if you just look at the Dodge audience, who is the Brotherhood of Muscle, who these people are, they're a very young audience. We actually have one of the youngest demographics in the industry, and they're wildly passionate. And these cars, they're not just, hey, I want to collect them and throw them in my garage with a cover on them. Like, they want to drive them. They want to enjoy them. This is part of their lifestyle. They're a statement of who they are. Dodge people tell us that over and over again. And when we build our products and approach the style or the design or the content of the car, we keep that person in mind. That's the entire idea. That they need to be stating, we're worried about doing the Dodge thing. I'm not always too interested in what everybody else is doing in the industry. It's more about appealing to those people. And there's something raw and pure and just true about approaching it that way. And I think that's why they do it. I mean, their approach to life is a very much an all-in and active point of view. And they want cars that they can drive every day and enjoy. And there's something, if you drive a Hellcat, there's something civil about it. If you want to just go get a normal day run,
you
can use it. Rip on a weekend warrior, we can do that.
Yeah, they're very streetable, Les. I've driven the Demon on the street, and that it's very streetable. You can be cruising along with the air conditioning and be quite comfortable. But the other thing I wanted to ask about, Les and I did a story last week. Your boss, Tim Kinesis, was talking about going electric. And what will that be like, for the Dodge brand? I mean, certainly electric vehicles have incredible performance. They might not have the sound and fury of a Hellcat engine, but what do you think? As a performance guy, I'm asking you as both a head of Dodge and a performance guy.
Yeah, there's no question. I think for us, we've got a couple of things coming up. So for our approach and how we're going to do this, we've gone to great lengths to explain how we're going to approach the world of electrification and what that means for the brand. And the world's going to get to see that on July 8th. So as far as our actual physical approach, I think I'll leave that day to my boss's presentation for everybody on the planet and how we're going to do it. But I think my comment would be as simple as this. We are absolutely going to stay true to what we do, and we will always continue to deliver muscle cars and performance cars that pay homage to our past. So our approach is very much going to take that into consideration, and you will see us continue to drive cars in that fashion going forward. But July 8th is going to be a big day. I think a lot of the motorheads and enthusiasts are curious to what we have to say and how we're going to answer that question.
So,
there you go. If you tell us quietly how fast it's going to be, we promise not to tell anybody.
You know us at Dodge. We like our secrets. We'd like to build a little bit of excitement now and then.
Oh, of course.
Well, we'll have to have you come back after July 8th and tell us detail what you're going to tell us on July 8th, which you can't tell us now, but
you can tell us it's going to be really fast.
I think we'll have some exciting stuff for you, without question.
Well,
so I think that'll definitely drive some more interview requests after we're done.
Well, the good thing about electric cars, as Les and I always talk about here on the show, is the horsepower levels are not going to go down, and the acceleration and instant acceleration is probably going to even go up, if that's possible, when you're talking about that in relation to Dodge products.
Yeah, there's no question. I think it brings something that's incredibly an interesting evolution of technology. that could be harnessed in a very performance oriented way. And there's going to be a lot of approaches to it. But as you alluded earlier in the show, I think man will always want to make something bigger, better, faster, better. Like that's how we're wired. There's a certain audience that's wired that way. And I don't care what we're doing, they're going to try to push the envelope.
Yep.
And that's sort of our approach.
All right. Well, Bob Broderdorf from Dodge, the head of the Dodge brand, we have an appointment after July 8th to bring you back and see what's going on in the future of Dodge. Also, we want to remind people to check out RoadKill Nights. I'm sure they can find that at any of the Dodge websites. So check that out August 14th. I'm Fred Staab.
I'm Les Jackson.
We're going to see you down the road. Take care.